What's growing on, gardeners? It's Sunday, October 17th, and for the third year in a row, we are going bananas here on the southeastern coast of North Carolina. Yes, for the third year in a row, my exact same banana plant has fruited for me here in Zone 8A, North Carolina, and I can't wait to show you my secrets on how I do this right now. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell to receive new video notifications, and check out our Amazon storefront and spread shop in the video description for a list of the gardening products I use and awesome custom designed apparel and other gear. Your support is greatly appreciated. This banana plant right here has been a force of nature for me. It has been giving me fruit for the past 3 seasons. It is a variety called dwarf Orinoco, and it has been incredibly reliable at providing nice bunches of bananas for me here in Zone 8A. Now, while I do have 4 or 5 other varieties of bananas planted along my property, this variety is by far the oldest. I bought it before I moved to North Carolina, and I kept it in a container for 2 years to put some age on the corm. And the corm is the underground root mass, which is like a rhizome or a storage bulb that keeps all of the nutrients for the plant. So this variety is about 2 to 3 years older than all of my other varieties. So because it's 4 or 5 years old now, it's been a reliable fruiter for me. Now, the amazing thing about this banana is, now that it's getting some age, it's done something for me that it has never done before, and that has provided me 2 harvests of bananas. These individual banana plants right here are typically called banana trees, but they are in fact not trees. They are not made of wood. They are actually called a pseudostem, and each banana plant is an herb. They are an herbaceous pseudostem that grow up from the corm, and once they fruit, they are no longer viable and they need to be chopped down. So this banana pseudostem right here, this top leaf right here, was the flag leaf that the giant banana flower comes out of. So this is already fruited for me, so I have to actually chop down and mulch this pseudostem right here because it's no longer viable. Now, I didn't have a chance to actually film the harvest of the banana in depth, but I did take a few quick videos so I could show you what the small bunch of fruit looked like and how it tastes, which I will show you right now. For the third year in a row, we have a ripe bunch of dwarf Orinoco bananas here in North Carolina. These were perfect 3 days ago, but then we got hit with 10 inches of rain, so I'm going to have to pick these without them being perfectly ripe. I know they're not the most impressive bunch of bananas, but who else is picking ripe bananas in their front yard in North Carolina? So what we need to do is we need to cut the bunch down, and then once we remove the bunch, we have to cut down the pseudostem right here, because once bananas fruit, the pseudostem dies. So the bananas get wrapped in organza bags to protect them against insects, and then the bunch gets hung up, and then they will continue to ripen out here in the garage. And then the ripe ones will be brought inside and we can eat them now. And you really haven't lived until you've had your own fresh homegrown banana. These are nothing like what you get in the grocery store. They are so much sweeter, they're so much better. They are like a perfect little dessert. Now, while this banana has been very reliable for me in fruiting every year for the past 3 seasons, until now it's turned out only small bunches of bananas. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. Number one, the tree or the corm just wasn't old enough to put out a nice bunch of bananas. And number two, the banana bunches have been forming earlier in the season. This banana bunch formed later. So the tree was able to store up nutrients and sunshine from the heat of the summer before it produced this bunch. So I think between the age of the plant and the extra energy, I think it was able to put out a really nice bunch of bananas. And I want to take you in for a closer look so you know exactly how these bananas are produced, because it's really magical. So what the banana plant does is it sends out something called a flag leaf, which is a really small banana leaf that is unlike all of the other ones it puts out. And then out of that flag leaf comes this big stem, and attached to that is this flower. And every single time a flower opens, there is a new cluster of bananas in there. And they call this a hand of bananas. They call each individual cluster a hand, and every single individual banana a finger. So here you can see the individual hands of the banana starts up here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 hands on here so far, and it looks like my flower has finally gotten to the point where it's not going to sustain more than 4 hands. So I have a few theories as to why my banana hands are not forming anymore and stopped at 4 hands. Number one, it could just be because it's the middle of October. The nights are getting too cold. That's why it's so windy right now. We're having a major cold front blow in, and it's only 70 degrees today as a high, and it got down to 52 last night, and we have upper 40s scheduled for the next couple of nights. So it could be that it's just run out of energy and it's too late in the season. Second, it could just be because this is a dwarf variety, and dwarf varieties just can't make bunches as big as full-size banana varieties. Full-size banana varieties can grow to be 15 to 20 feet tall, and they can make bunches of bananas almost as tall as an adult human being that weigh over 100 pounds. So it could just be a consequence that when you grow a dwarf variety, you get smaller bunches of bananas. And the other option is that it's just still not old enough yet. This corm is only, 4 or 5 years old. Maybe it just needs to become older before it can produce bigger bunches of bananas. But for whatever the reason, this bunch of bananas has stopped forming. So everything after this point is pretty much a total loss. And as a consequence, we have about 3 to 4 weeks before our first frost. So I need to remove this flower, because right now, if I let this flower go, it's going to keep opening up these petals all the way until it drops to the ground. It's going to keep trying to form hands of new bananas in vain, and it's just going to steal energy from the plant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pruning saw, and I'm going to cut off this banana flower. However, be aware that in Asian cooking, especially Southeast Asian cooking, the banana flower is very popular. Now, me being of Italian-American descent, I don't really know how to cook a banana flower, but it's a sacrilege to throw a banana flower away in those cultures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this flower off, and I'm going to store it in my refrigerator and see if I can do anything with this banana flower, because they're supposed to be very delicious when made properly. So I'm going to simply cut this off just like that, and now this banana bunch will have probably the next 4 weeks to form and try and strengthen up these bananas right here and get them to the point where I can harvest these bananas on my tree. Now we have to dispose of our old banana pseudostem that already fruited for me earlier in the year, because it's no longer of any value. Because a banana is an herb, once they flower, they're no longer any good, so they're allowed to die back to the ground. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pruning saw and I'm going to start chopping it down. Then what they do in countries where bananas are native, there's a boring beetle or boring worm that can sometimes bore into a cut down banana pseudostem. It's customary to cut out the center, and you get that out of there because this will fill in with water and it will drown any beetles that bore in, or any worms or beetles that bore inside here. And I doubt I have any of these pests in North Carolina, but it's what I've always seen done for people that grow these in their native habitats or in more tropical locations where these pests may be a problem. Now here is the chopped down banana pseudostem. The banana pseudostem itself does not break down easily, so what you want to do is you want to cut this up into chunks almost like logs of firewood and then split them in the middle, because that will help their decay rate. Just like that. Once you cut them into chunks, you simply cut them straight down the middle. And then you want to take these sectioned off pieces of banana pseudostem and you want to stack them center down all around the base of the banana tree or the banana plant, because the absolute best thing to feed a banana tree is its own remnants as compost. So now I've basically given you a crash course on how to grow bananas, from harvesting the fruit to chopping down the old pseudostems to mulching them and all of those little tiny banana tree care tips. But what I haven't done yet is told you exactly how I'm having success in Zone 8A, in a place where I get probably about 35 freezes at night every single year. How is it possible for me to grow these super tropical trees that can't take a freeze at all? Well, I've actually showed you how to do that before. store, and I will link to a video above with a full tutorial in case you want the details. However, the summary is this. Every fall, I go out and I buy either some welded wire fence or some garden fence or some chicken wire that's 3 to 4 feet tall, and I pound some 4-foot wooden stakes into the ground, and then using the fencing, some stakes, and some zip ties, I build a cage around all of my pseudostems. And then I go and I pick up several bales of straw. You can use straw, you can use hay, you can use pine straw, something that won't hold a lot of moisture but provide insulation. And that will create an insulation barrier around the pseudostems and keep them warm. Using this insulation technique, I'm able to overwinter several of the pseudostems. Some will still die back, however, this is why I have like 7 or 8 banana plants, because while I'll lose most of them, several pseudostems do make it through the winter. And that's how I'm able to have success, because even the shortest cycle bananas out there still need about 12 to 18 months to fruit, whereas the long cycle bananas need 18 to 24 months or longer. So they have to be protected for at least one winter, and these pseudostems can't die down to the ground or you won't get fruit. If all you want to do is grow bananas as ornamentals, the corm itself insulated in the ground can survive down to about 0 degrees Fahrenheit with most varieties. Some, like the Musa Bajou, can take up to 20 degrees below 0 if you just want to grow them as ornamentals and you mulch the corm to keep them insulated. However, you do have to overwinter these if you want fruit. So simply by building a cage around them and stuffing them full of some kind of natural insulation product, I am able to successfully grow bananas here in North Carolina, where we get 30 to 40 freezes a year, and we see an annual minimum, usually on average about 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit every single winter. And the best part about all this is, while I'm already having a lot of success, as my corms put on more and more age, they will fruit more and more readily and vigorously. So I think if I keep going on with this method, I will have more and more success. And what's really awesome about this is I have a due north facing front yard. So this is a north facing banana tree, and I'm still able to do this. So the banana trees in my backyard, which is due south facing, are even more protected from the cold north winds in the winter, so I may have even more success, and I think you will too if you follow this method. And that is how I successfully grow bananas for fruit here in Zone 8A. So everybody, I sure hope you found the video helpful. If you did, please hit that like button and ring that notification bell so you're notified when I upload more videos like these. If you're curious about any of the products I use in my garden, they're all linked in the video description in my Amazon storefront. And while you're there, check out my spread shop for merch. Thanks again so much for watching, and I hope to see all of you again on the next video. Look at these two, a good boy and a good girl walking next to each other. Babysitting Stacy for the weekend. Oh, they're doing so well. Walking so nice and slow. Dale, you walk so much better in a pack than you do on your own. You're being a good boy.